After the Bhagavatam class, we'll have some prasad. Just for you to know what's to look forward to. Okay. So, I'm familiar with most of you. You've come for the first time. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Victor.
Victor. Oh, you're Victor. Okay. You met Dayananda Swami in the streets.
Who is again?
Dayananda Swami.
Say again?
Dayananda.
Dayananda.
Yeah, man with saffron clothes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, elderly person, glasses.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
And look for me.
That's right.
Search for me.
So you met him on the streets?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then,
I'm from Venezuela and I've been in ISKCON in Venezuela. Devotees friends in Venezuela.
okay, wonderful. So you're here on work or?
I am working, yes. I'm Venezuelan and I'm Portuguese citizen. So I could come here before Brexit. I'm working here, living here because Venezuela big crisis. There is a big crisis in Venezuela. So many million people, million Venezuelan people have left the country. I am one of these million. So I come here, living here, and I've been in, I have many friends
Yeah.
who practice Mantra, Chanakya, many friends.
That's
Close friends.
amazing. Very happy to hear. You know, I'm sitting here like this, and then there's one row of devotees against the wall. I can't see any of you. You're okay, Venkat Prabhu. Yeah, but everyone's trying to hide behind you. So if you want to use chairs, you can maybe just come here, yeah. So I can have a vision of all of you together.
Nice to meet you, everyone.
Yes. Victor, welcome to Manchester. So besides the Saturday morning, we meet every Sunday also.
Yeah.
How far do you live?
15 minutes by bicycle.
13 minutes.
13 minutes.
That's very precise.
Yeah, that's what Google Maps says. Google Maps says that. What? Yeah, Lonside. Yeah, Lonside. I live in Lonside. Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, I know. It's searching.
Wonderful. And you're now on WhatsApp also, I remember.
Yes, I am.
So,
I was
so you'll get the full schedule of the program.
But this program on Saturday is every 2 weeks, not every week.
Yes, that's right.
So next week, no.
No problem. But if you're on
Sunday, no.
every Sunday, every Sunday. But if you're on the list, if something's happening, then you'll get the schedule.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you for coming, Victor. Hare Krishna.
What's your name?
Madhva Kumar Das.
Okay.
It's okay.
Your last name.
Yes. Madhva Kumar is Krishna's name, and Das means the servant of. Okay, so when you surrender to a spiritual master and you take shelter, then the spiritual master gives you a spiritual name, which is different from your civil name. And the idea is that you're given a name of Krishna so that if someone's addressing you, they have an excuse to remember Krishna. Okay? So all the initiated or surrendered, sheltered devotees will have a name of Krishna or his pastimes or something that will remind people of Krishna. Okay, that's the idea. So Madhva Kumar is Krishna and Das is the servant of. Okay? Hare Krishna. Okay. So I'll need the instruments back in. See, bro. Thank you. Jai Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Vihari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Jai Girivaradhari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Jai Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jayo Jayo Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nittai Gaura Premanande, Hari 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 Bo. Om Jnanatimirandasya, Jnananjana Shalakya, Chakshurunamritam Yena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, Sapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kada Mahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Utapadagammalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragnathānvidam Tvam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagalita Shri Vishakhanvatamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinamandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataruvasya Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Aradho Bhagwan Vrajeshthana Stadham Vrindavanam Ramaya Kachidupasana Vajudurinva Kalpata Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amram Prema Marto Mahan Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktabinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So what we just did was referred to as Mangala Acharan, or auspicious prayers to invoke the blessings of the Acharyas, the Parampara. Sanskrit is referred to as a language of gods, and it's been tested and proven that regular reciting of Sanskrit verses from the scriptures has a positive effect on your mind. Your ability to retain increases. And what happens if you fill your mind and heart with a lot of good sound vibration? There would be no room for the bad. So that's the idea for chanting the names of the Lord, these Sanskrit mantras. Hare Krishna. So today we will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. And just last week we celebrated the appearance of Lord RamaChandra. And we read one verse from chapter 10 last week, 2 weeks ago. Today we'll read chapter 11. So we need to get the vision on the projector again. Is that this one? Just any button. There you go. Power save mode. Okay. So we're reading from chapter 11, titled Lord RamaChandra Rules the World. This chapter describes how Lord RamaChandra resided in Ayodhya with his younger brothers and performed various sacrifices. Anybody not familiar with Lord Ram? Lord Ram. Not familiar. Okay. So Lord Ram, okay, yeah. So we discussed last Saturday session, 2 weeks ago, that in every age, in every time, the Lord comes in a variety of forms. All these sceneries and paintings you see on the wall, they are different pastimes of the Lord. He comes, and Bhagavad Gita says, Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkitam. Dharma sansthapanakaya sambhavami yuga yuge. So in this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, it's mentioned why the Lord comes. He comes Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the saintly people. Vinashaya cha dushkitam, to kill the demoniac, miscreants. And Dharma sansthapanakaya, to re-establish the principles of religion, he comes. So for these three purposes, obviously the understanding is that because the Lord is supreme, He's the source of everything, He doesn't really need to make an effort to do all that. But He comes out of His own free will. He comes to enjoy and have these pastimes with His devotees. That's His main purpose. He wants to come and have an interaction. So you can live in a 50-story, 100-room mansion by yourself. For how long? Would you be happy for a permanent period of time? No. Why? You want to have an interaction, because we are social beings. We like to celebrate any moment of joy or happiness with our family members, with our friends, isn't it? There are very, very few percentage of people who are happy to just be by themselves. And we have those moments, we want to be by ourselves, but then we want to go out again, meet friends, families. We want to have this interaction. So this intention or this desire, we also inherit from the Lord. Everything we get from the Lord. So the Lord also doesn't want to just stay forever in His kingdom in the spiritual world. He wants to come down every so often and have these interactions with His children, i.e. us, in different times. So you're familiar with the term Kali Yuga? So Kali Yuga is the age we're living in, okay? And prior to Kali Yuga comes Dwapar Yuga, which is when Krishna himself comes. And prior to Dwapar Yuga is an age called Treta Yuga. Treta stands for 3. So in that age, which is 2 ages before the Kali Yuga we're living in, the Lord came as Vamanadev, and He also came as Lord Ram. Okay? So Krishna came as Lord Ram. And in that form, He was the example of a perfect gentleman who followed all the rules. When Krishna comes, He doesn't want to necessarily follow the rule book. He creates His own rules. But when He came as Lord Ram, He came as a perfect example of a perfect son, perfect husband, perfect king. He was an example of perfection when He came as Lord Ram, Lord RamaChandra. And when Lord Ram came, who is Balaram with him? Lakshman is Balaram. So you know Krishna Balaram?
Krishna Balaram is just different name for Krishna.
Okay, so Balaram is Krishna's first expansion. So when Krishna expands himself, the very first personality that comes out is Balaram. And Balaram's purpose is to constantly, always, forever, make arrangements for Krishna's pastimes. So when Krishna came himself in Kali Yuga, in Dwapar Yuga, he came as Krishna and Balaram. In Treta, with Lord Ram, he came along with Lakshman. And with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came with Nityananda Prabhu. You familiar with Nityananda Prabhu? Okay, no problem. These are all different names of the Lord. The take-home message is that, like we want to have interactions with our family members and friends, therefore Krishna also comes down and has these exchanges, He wants to be someone's son. He wants to be someone's friend. He wants to be someone's father, someone's husband, whatever relationship we want. Like Shankar Prabhu, you're a son to your parents. You're a father to your children. You're a husband to your wife, isn't it? So as individuals, we have so many relationships. So Krishna also, because we inherit everything from him, we are part and parcels of him, we get all of that from Krishna. So he also wants to have these relationships. And therefore, to have those relationships, he comes down. He also wants to have an inimical relationship with some devotees, because he wants to have a fight. He wants to have, an argument, an exchange of every type. So he comes and has these interactions. See, Prabhu, you have something to say? Share. He's just being blissful. Yes, so Krishna comes. He doesn't really needs to, like I said, take a lot of effort to kill or reestablish or do some like no. He can just not even think, and even just without blinking, he could do all that. But his main purpose is to come and have these loving exchanges with his devotees. He enjoys that. And there are 12 different kinds of rasas or relationships you can have with the Lord. And one of the rasa is chivalry, where you can give the Lord a fight and satisfy him like that. Any examples, Steve Prabhu, of devotees who've accepted the service? Yeah. Yes, they also served a purpose, but there are devotees. Huh? Jambavan, when he came as with Krishna and Jambavan had a fight. Although Jambavan was Lord Ram's servant in Ramayana, but Jambavan lived for that long. And another example is Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev, he fought for Kauravas, but he was a devotee of Krishna, and he gave Krishna a good fight. So that's service in the mode of chivalry. There's beautiful description in the Bhagavatam where Bhishma Dev is describing the beauty of Krishna when he lifts the wheel of the chariot and charges towards Bhishma with his clothes disheveled and hair all over and sweat from his brow, and beautiful description of how how different devotees look up to the Lord in a variety of ways. So you can be his friend. You can think of him as a little boy in a parent mode and in the mode of chivalry as well. So there are different kinds of relationships you can have with the Lord. He's unlimited. Does that make sense? Is that okay? So Lord comes, and he came as Lord Ram, okay, to exemplify a perfect person, a perfect human being. And of course, he comes to fulfill all the, what is English for Bhavishyamani? Foretellings of the future. He comes to fulfill all that. So it was forecasted that Ravana, the demon of his time, has to be killed by an ordinary human being. When Ravana was getting boons, he didn't think that human beings were worthy enough to take protection form. He said, don't let me be killed by this. And he forgot to mention the human beings. So the Lord came in the disguise of a human being and then killed Ravana like that. Okay, so I think we understand now, Lord Ram. Okay, so we will read from Srimad Bhagavatam, and we'll chant the first two Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Yeah, so I can refresh. Hare Krishna. Thank you. In today's time and age, we are so dependent on technology. In the Vedic times, you could just memorize everything and there was no need for any technology aids. Everything was here. Because there was no other nonsense. It was just purity. But that's not where we are. So we have to rely on these. Capacity was also high. Okay, so I'll try and read the Sanskrit and you can repeat after me. Shri Shuka Uvacha Bhagavan Atmanatmanam Rama Uttama Kalpakahe Sarva Devamayam Devam Ije Thacharyavan Makahe. Okay. Shri Shuka Uvacha Bhagavan Atmanatmanam Rama Uttama Kalpakahe Sarvadeva Mayam Devam Ijetha Charyavan Makai. Okay, we'll read the translation. Any volunteers? Sarvaga Prabhu, you can start and then we can go around the house like that. Translation. Translation. Translation on.
Sukadeva Goswami said, thereafter the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord RamaChandra, accepted an acharya and performed sacrifice yajnas with opulent paraphernalia. Thus he himself worshipped himself, for he is the Supreme Lord of all demigods.
Yeah, so he himself worshipped. Okay, this we then read the next verse and then we'll focus on that one. Okay. Hotre Dadad Disham Prachim Brahmane Dakshinam Prabhu Advaryave Pratichim Va Uttaram Samagaya Saha. Okay. Hotre Dadad Disam Prachim Brahmane Dakshinam Prabhu Advaryave Pratichim Va Uttaram Samagaya Saha. Hotre Dadad Disam Prachim Brahmane Dakshinam Prabhu Advaryave Pratichim Va Uttaram Samagaya Saha. Hotre Dadad Disam Prachim Brahmane Dakshinam Prabhu Advaryave Pratichim Va Uttaram Samagaya Saha. Audience, anybody wants to recite? Shankar Prabhu, you can read. Hotre Dadadisham Prachim
Brahmane Dakshinam Prabhu
Brahmane Dakshinam Prabhu
Advaryeve Pratim Chava
Advaryave Pratichim Va
Uttaram Samagaya Saha.
Uttaram Samagaya Saha. Anybody else? Hotre Dadadisham Prachim Brahmane Dakshinam Prabhu Adhyaryave Pratichim Va Uttaram Samagaya Saha. One more. Anybody? Sri Prabhu, you want to have a go? Yes, Philip Prabhu? Otre dadadisham prachim Brahmane dakshinam prabhu Adhyarya pratichimva Uttaram samagayasa. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So we read the translation. Yes, Venkat Prabhu, you can read the translation, please.
Lord RamaChandra gave the entire east to the Hota priest, the entire south to the Brahma priest, the west to the Advaryu priest, and the north to the Udgatha priest, the reciter of the Samaveda. In this way, he donated his kingdom.
Hare Krishna. So, this is talking about Lord RamaChandra, how he was a perfect gentleman and he did everything to perfection. And as was the custom, he was conducting sacrifices in his place. And it's mentioned here that he gave the entire east to one category of priests, the entire south to the other category of priests, and west and north like that. All the four directions that he was the owner of, he gave in charity to the Brahmanas. That's the highest level of charity one can have. In the 17th chapter, there is description, divisions of faith. There is description of the kind of charities you can give in the mode of passion, ignorance, and goodness. So this is an example of giving charity. The king of the world at that time is at a level where he is so detached with all that he owns that he decides to give it away in charity to the Brahmanas. And the Brahmanas are also so elevated that they know that being a Brahmin or being the priestly class, you don't need a lot for yourself. You just need the Shastras, some dakshina to get past. So the priests, you would see in the later part of this Bhagavatam chapter, the priests are also at a level of detachment that they, as soon as receiving the kingdom, decide to give it back to the Lord. So this is a very wonderful exchange where the king is saying, I want to give you everything I have, the maximum charity that I can give you. Please take, please accept. And the priests are also intelligent enough and pure and elevated enough that they're saying, what would we do with all this? We give it back to you. It is like a very nice exchange. But in today's time, it's totally contrary. Those who have too much don't want to give anything. And those who have little, they still have plenty, want more and more and more. Such is the state of affairs today. So when I was listening about this class, I heard an incident about the second Prime Minister of India, Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri was his name, second Prime Minister after Jawaharlal Nehru. So, and this is only 60, 70 years ago, but different times, and you didn't need a lot of remuneration. So he was drawing a certain salary from the government, being the Prime Minister, the head of the country at that time. So one day his friend comes to see him, and he says, well, you're the Prime Minister of the country. Can you please lend me 5,000 rupees. Rupees the Indian denomination. So Lal Bahadur Shastri says, I don't have so much money. I'm so sorry. We're living very simply. So after 1 week, the same friend comes back. Victor, you with us? You following? Yes. Yeah. So after 1 week, Lal Bahadur Shastri's friend comes back and says, thank you very much. I got the loan. I will return it in time. And your wife was very good. She gave it to me, the money. So Lal Bahadur Shastri, the husband, is very inquisitive. He goes running to the wife and says, how come you saved so much money that you managed to give my friend 5,000 rupees? And she's like, you see, you get 500 rupees as salary every month, but our expenses are only 400 rupees. So I have been saving all that money. And after all, he is your friend. So we must help him. So I gave that money. Lal Bahadur Shastri's response, he gets so upset, he immediately writes a letter to the government. Mr. So-and-so treasurer, my requirement is only 400 rupees. Please reduce my salary. So he was an example of a simple person. But it's very, very difficult to find people like these today. But the scriptures is full of examples like that. And we don't have to go very far. This is just 60, 70 years ago where we still had a level of simplicity and purity, not just in India, but in a lot of places around the world. Everyone was happy to just accumulate for the next day, next week, next month only. Not like today where you're not enough. You're not happy with being the head of a state yourself. You want to acquire another person's country. Not just their homes, but their people and everything. This is the state of what people have driven themselves to. All because of absence of godliness. All because of moving away from Krishna. And the scriptures tell us when we try and put Krishna, he looks after everything. Yoga kshemam vahamyam. It says in the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever we lack, he looks after that. There is no need for anything as long as we have Krishna in our lives. But if we don't have Krishna or Lord in our lives, you can keep filling it with this, that and the other, and you will still be empty in your hearts and your minds forever. So we'll continue to read. We'll try and read some translations. So we'll take turns to just read the translations. We've done the first two. And Venkat Prabhu, if you can do up till 7, please.
Thereafter, thinking that because the Brahmanas have no material desires, they should possess the entire world, Lord RamaChandra delivered the land between the east, west, north and south to the Acharya. After thus giving everything in charity to the Brahmanas, Lord RamaChandra retained only his personal garments and ornaments, and similarly the queen, Mother Sita, was left with only her nose ring and nothing else. All the Brahmanas who were engaged in the various activities of sacrifice were very pleased with Lord RamaChandra, who was greatly affectionate and favorable to the Brahmanas. Thus, with melted hearts, they returned all the property received from him and spoke as follows.
Yeah.
O Lord, you are the master of the entire universe. What have you not given to us? You have entered the core of our hearts and dissipated the darkness of our ignorance by your effulgence. This is the supreme gift. We do not need a material donation. O Lord, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, who have accepted the Brahmanas as your worshipable deity. Your knowledge and memory are never disturbed by anxiety. You are the chief of all famous persons within this world, and your lotus feet are worshipped by sages who are beyond the jurisdiction of punishment. O Lord RamaChandra, let us offer a respectful obeisance unto you.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this is just the description of this exchange we've just discussed, where the king is at a level where he is wanting to give everything that he has in charity, and the Brahmanas very well. Jam session was last night, Prabhu. Not until next month. Okay. So the Brahmanas are at a level where they are so knowledgeable and elevated and self-sufficient that they are ready to give the kingdom back to the king, because they know that king is in best position to make use of it, not the Brahmanas. So that's the exchange that's going on here. There is another example of Chanakya Pandit in ancient India. he was the main minister for a king called Chandragupta Maurya. Have you heard of Chanakya Pandit? Anybody at the back? Chanakya Pandit? He's mentioned every so often as a very, very wise politician. His book is known as Kautilya Shastra. If you need to know how to be good and excel in politics, then you can follow him. So once Chanakya Pandit, who was the main minister for this king called Chandragupta Maurya, he was very famous. So one day a Chinese traveler, Yun Sang or Fahine or some guy, came to visit Chandragupta Maurya because Chandragupta Maurya was very, very well known. So he said, I want to find out what is the secret of your success. You know, how do you manage all the affairs of the kingdom and keep your citizens happy as well? Lord RamaChandra is also a wonderful example of how he kept his citizens happy. He had very, very loving relationships with his citizens, not just his family members, because he was a perfect gentleman. So this Chinese traveler, they tell him that it's not the king really, it's the minister who's behind all the decisions that the king takes. So you go and meet Chanakya. And so he's automatically looking for like a palace or some kind of a big setup where the main minister would be living in. But they tell him that, you know, he lives down the road in a little hut. You can go and visit him. And when this traveler goes to meet the Chanakya Pandit, he notices that the door is not a full door. It's a half door. So you can't stand upright and go in. You know, you have to bend and get in. And as soon as he enters, once he manages to enter, he sees that Chanakya Pandit is doing some writing. And Chanakya Pandit says, please wait, I'll just finish my writing and come. And he notices that before meeting the traveler, he extinguishes the candle he was using, a bigger candle, and then comes to meet the traveler, lights up another little candle, and then starts to have a conversation. Yes, dear sir, how can I serve you? So this traveler, whatever his name is, he's saying, never mind how you manage the kingdom and all that. I'm intrigued by why are you living in a hut? Because you're like a big minister to the king. And why do you have a small door? You know, why didn't you have a full-size door? And what is this business with turning one candle off and lighting another? Please, can you explain this to me? And then we'll talk about how to manage the kingdom. So Chanakya Pandit says, you see, I'm a Brahmin. And the scriptures tell us that we need to live very, very simply. And the reason why the door is smaller is that anybody who comes in should leave his pride at the door, bend down in humility, and then try and come in a humble state. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, there is a verse, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshina. So we must approach teachers or people who can help us understand the concepts and answer our questions, but we should approach them in a humble state. We should offer them service. We should go, in Hindi you say Vineet Bhav se jana chahiye. So you go in a very humble state, requesting that, you know, please, I accept that you have the knowledge and you are in a good position to answer my questions. Please, yes.
Simple example is
Yeah,
water flows from
yeah,
high level to low level.
that's right.
If you are not humble, you are already at a higher level.
Yes,
So you are not in a position to accept it.
that's right, yeah.
So humility is like if you are thinking that I don't know, then only you can accept it. If you are not empty,
Yes,
you can't take anything.
absolutely. If you're overflowing, then there's no space to
There's no space to accept.
Also, for science students, you know that charge flows from higher to lower always, isn't it? Yeah, it's not the other way around. So if you're already too much charged with whatever you know of the world, then you're not receiving anything more, isn't it, Shankar Prabhu? So the electrolysis process is not going to work very well. Cool. So Chanakya Pandit then says, well, the reason why I was using the bigger candle is because I was doing government work that time. But government work finished, personal work stop using that resource, start using my personal resource. So this is a standard that, ideal devotees, capable, full of, fully conscious individuals have, like Chanakya Pandit, Lord Ram in his examples, dealings with his, in his pastimes. Lal Bahadur Shastri, for example. And these are all real examples. These are not made up stories. I will continue to read a few more. Anybody who's not read? Steve Brew, would you like to read a bit? Yeah. Just a few verses, yeah. 8 onwards, and I'll tell you where to stop.
Shukadeva Goswami continued, once while Lord RamaChandra was walking at night, incognito, hiding himself by a disguise to find out the people's opinion of himself, heard a man speaking unfavourably about his wife Sita Devi. Speaking to his unchaste wife, the man said, you go to another man's house, and therefore you are unchaste and polluted. I shall not maintain you any more. A henpecked husband like Lord Ram may accept a wife like Sita, who went to another man's house, but I am not henpecked like him, and therefore I shall not accept you again. Shukadeva Goswami said, men with a poor fund of knowledge and a heinous character speak nonsensically. Fearing such rascals, Lord RamaChandra abandoned his wife Sita Devi, although she was pregnant. Thus Sita Devi went to the ashram of Valmiki Muni. When the time came, the pregnant mother Sita Devi gave birth to twin sons, later celebrated as Lava and Kusha. The ritualistic ceremonies for their birth were performed by Valmiki Muni. On Maharaj Parikshit, Lord Lakshman had 2 sons named Angada and Chitraketu, and Lord Bharat also had 2 sons named Taksha and Pushkala. Satrugna had 2 sons named Subhadu and Srutasena. When Lord Bharata went to conquer all directions, he had to kill many millions of Gandharvas who are generally pretenders. Taking all their wealth, he offered it to Lord RamaChandra. Satrugna also killed a Rakshasa named Lavana, who was the son of Madhu Rakshasa. Thus he established in the great forest known as Madhuvan, the town known as Mathura. Being forsaken by her husband Sita Devi, entrusted her 2 sons to the care of Valmiki Muni. Then meditating upon the lotus feet of Lord RamaChandra, she entered into the earth. After hearing the news of Mother Sita's entering the earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was certainly aggrieved. Although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, upon remembering the exalted qualities of Mother Sita, he could not check his grief in transcendental love. The attraction between man and woman, or male and female, always exists everywhere, making everyone always fearful. Such feelings are present even among the controllers like Brahma and Lord Shiva, and is the cause of fear for them. What to speak of others who are attached to household life in this material world?
Thank you, Prabhu. So there is description here of how sensitive Lord Ram was looking after his citizens, to the extent that he decided it was the right thing to abandon Mother Sita just to keep his citizens happy, just so that there is no criticism, just so that there is no unrest. And there are different commentaries on that. Some people try to put Lord Ram in the category of an ordinary human being and evaluate his behavior as to, did he do right, did he do wrong, what was the right thing to do. But we must understand, who we are talking about. This is Lord Ram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And when they come, as we discussed earlier, they come to have these loving exchanges, and Lord Ram's purpose was to experience these different emotions like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to experience how a devotee feels for him in the combined form of Krishna and Radha. Likewise, RamaChandra, Lord RamaChandra, when Krishna came as Lord RamaChandra, his idea was to experience this separation, longing, being in solitude with Mother Sita, etc. So, when they finished their pastimes, they just need to have an excuse to go back. It's not like they're ordinary human beings, so they'll be subject to all the evaluation system we have for ordinary humans. It's not like that. So what happened? How did Krishna go? At the end of the battle, he was lying, and then you know the story, a hunter shot the arrow and then he bled to death supposedly, but he's the Lord. He's just creating that scene as an excuse to go back. Like that, when it was time for Lord Ram to go as well, he did the ruling, everything was okay, and then Mother Sita had to go before, so this excuse of putting the separating Mother Sita from Lord Ram just to satisfy the citizens. And then at the end of that Leela, Mother Sita, because she is daughter of the earth, when King Chanakya didn't have children, he plowed the earth and she came from the earth. So she's the daughter of the earth. So she went back into the earth. And then a few years after that, Lord Ram also finished his pastimes. So these are, the right understanding is that these are all just excuses and pastimes of the Lord planned in a way for them to finish their activities and then go back. But for us, we should only take what are the lessons, how careful we should be if we are in a position of power, if we are responsible for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, what behavior should we demonstrate? To what extent should we go to look after our families and friends? When you are a dad in the house, how should you behave so that your son or your daughter looking up to you doesn't just listen to your instructions, but looks up to you because of the way you're behaving? And if you're a manager in an office setup, what sort of care you should offer to your team members so that everyone's happy and they are trying to perform at the best levels. So those are the lessons we need to take away from Lord Ram's example. And also, who in today's time will be so motivated to go to the extent of traveling from North India, in Ayodhya where Lord Ram was in his kingdom, without satellite navigation system, to chase the demon who's taken away his wife, gather a whole bunch of army on the way and do amazing planning and go through all the trouble and then go fight the demon and win his wife back. That's exemplary. That's the level of commitment. That's how much Lord Ram threw himself at the chance of getting his wife back. It wasn't like there was a script already written, so he had to just follow. No. Everything, all the planning happened on the way. So the point that I'm trying to make is, when we read pastimes like Ramayana, we shouldn't zero in on the not so amazing element and think of Lord Ram to be an ordinary human being. Ooh, why did he leave his wife? She was pregnant and he abandoned her and this and that. What are the positives for us to take away? What is the level of commitment Lord Ram, as a perfect human, perfect person, is demonstrating? Not just towards his family members, but also to the citizens that he is responsible for as a king. Yeah? And Lord Ram actually, as a personality, because he was the Lord himself, he was always so equipoised and an example of perfection, and with everything, that every event that happened in his life, there was just positivity in acceptance. So when he was told that yesterday you were going to get coronated, today you got to go to the forest, what did Lord Ram's response? What was his response? Equipoised. His first response, the Acharyas tell us, was, wonderful. I am going to have a continued holiday. Because being the king of the kingdom, which his father, King Dashrath, was managing, it is a huge responsibility. He's got to look after the citizens, which he eventually did, and do this, that, and the other, and that'll leave him with so little time. So Lord Ram's response, Acharyas tell us, was amazing. Extended holiday. Let's go. And then the Mother Sita comes and Lakshman comes. So this story of Ramayana, if you were to summarize the whole thing, it is either about selfishness or selflessness. And there are various characters we can draw inspiration from. Can you name any characters from Ramayana apart from Sarvagya Prabhu? Any characters apart from Lord Ram? Hanumanji, that's right. Today actually is Hanuman Jayanti. Today is the appearance day of Lord Hanuman. Do you know Hanuman? Hanumanji is an empowered devotee of Lord Ram or Krishna. You know how Krishna comes with his troop? Because he's a king. King never travels alone. So he brings all his entourage with him. So Bajrangbali or Hanumanji is also a very, very dear servant of the Lord. In fact, he is the best example of connecting with the Lord in dasya form, or in the mode of a servant. So embedded is the Lord in his heart and mind that he can rip open his chest and you'd see the impression of the Lord in his body. That's the level of immersion he has. Any other characters? Victor, do you know anybody from Ramayana? Radha. Okay, that's a different pastime. In here with Lord Ram, she's known as Mother Sita.
She's like Mother
Sita.
Okay.
Okay? Yes. Any other character? Lakshman. So I'm going to pause at that. Lakshman is a beautiful character. So the name Lakshman is actually Lord Balaram, we know that. And his job is to always look after the Lord's pastimes. So what is his response? And Lakshman is really understood as Lakshman, Lakshmi Sampanna. So while Lord Ram lost all his kingdom in that moment, Lord Lakshman, who's also Lord, gained everything. And what is everything? Exclusive service to his master round the clock. So Lakshman's response was, never mind, here in the kingdom, so many people, everyone trying to, get some space to serve Lord Ram. In the forest, 14 years, just me and my Lord. 100% full time with my master, round the clock service. That is the attitude of Lakshman. So while Lord Ram supposedly lost the kingdom, Balaram or Lakshman gained everything in getting 100% uninterrupted, unchallenged, no competition service to the Lord directly. So the mood of a devotee is such that we are always constantly trying to engage ourselves in some or the other service and thereby get the favor of the Lord. So in that mood, Lakshman is a great example. Any other characters? Do you know anybody from Ramayana? Yes, James Prabhu? Shiva. Lord Shiva has a role to play, but not directly in these pastimes. The understanding is that Hanumanji, yes, that's right, yeah. Hanuman.
There is a lion.
Sir?
There is a devotee that has a lion face.
Lion face.
Lion face.
Over there.
Hey,
Narasingha.
I don't see. My name is very
Yeah.
Have to see close.
Yes. Oh yes. On the left.
I can see better. That's Krishna himself.
It's also Krishna.
It's also Krishna.
Yes.
It's like the Bible. Jesus Christ is lion. I don't know. Could be connected. I don't know.
Yes, as we said, Krishna comes in different forms. Why did he come as Narsingha? Because he had to fulfill prophecies, yeah? He had to check all the boxes. So like that he came. So yeah, so we're discussing all these characters, and one other character from the Ramayana is Vibhishan. Have you heard of Vibhishan?
No, never heard of Vibhishan.
Venkat Prabhu, you heard of Vibhishan? Tell us who he was.
He was the younger brother of Ravana.
Ravana. And what is the special thing about him?
He was the devotee of Lord Rama.
He was devotee of Lord Ram. And anything else? What did he do?
In Lanka, everyone is demon.
Yeah.
He is only the devotee.
Yes.
So, in the middle of all people who are against God,
Yes.
being a devotee, living like a devotee,
Yeah.
he is showing us an example.
Absolutely.
So, so against all odds.
Against all odds. That's the point. That's the point. Wonderful. So Vibhishan is another character. You know Ravan? Victor? Ravana.
Ravana.
Demon.
Demon. No.
Okay, no problem.
I know demons, but I know Ramana.
Okay, no problem.
There are snake demons. I see many cartoons, but Ramana, no.
Okay, no problem. So in this story, when Krishna...
It would be nice to put pictures that
That's true. I take that. Okay. I was assuming everybody knows the demon Ravana, but no problem.
The luxury demon or lazy demon. He said the demon. What's demon?
In this story, when Krishna came as Ram,
Yeah.
his main villain was Ravan. Okay? He had his own family also. So Ravana is an example of selfishness. All that, the extent he went to capture Mother Sita and do all sorts of nonsense in all the three worlds, and then throw his family members to the war. He knew that his brother Kumbhakarna, if he wakes up without completing his sleep, he's going to die. But he wanted to serve his purpose of fighting Lord Ram. So he sacrificed his brothers as well. His children, everybody. Meghnad, Indrajit, everyone. Just to satisfy his desire. So that's a demonstration of selfishness.
Would you explain again to understand what he does to satisfy himself?
Yes, so Ravana is a villain. Villain, yes. And the story is that he goes and steals Lord Ram's wife, Mother Sita. That's a crime.
Stealing wife.
Yes. Yeah?
Adultery.
Adultery.
Adultery is a crime.
Yes.
Rebellion is a crime.
Yes. Scriptures tell us, Bhagavad Gita tell us, somebody like that should just be killed.
Like
No court cases. Just decisions. Yeah. That's how it used to be. So Ravana, the guy who does the crime, is not wanting to give up Mother Sita. He doesn't want to release the other person's wife. So he's having a battle, and he's getting his uncle, friends, children, family to fight for him, because I want to keep the treasure. That's the story. Okay? So he is an example of selfishness. And there are other examples of selflessness. So we were talking about Vibhishan. Vibhishan is a character. He was Ravana's younger brother. Now imagine Lanka was a city of gold. There was so much opulence. And in the city, everyone was a demon except Vibhishan. How Vibhishan manages to protect his devotion to Lord Ram amidst adversaries. So when we are devotees, and we want to do our chanting, we are always looking for favorable circumstances. But how to deal with unfavorable circumstances? Vibhishan is an example. How amidst, if he uttered even once, Ravana, I'm your brother, I will support you. He had to just say that, and Ravana would have looked after him. But no, his commitment to being a servant of Lord Ram was such that he was willing to take abuse from everyone, including Ravana. And what did Ravana do? Kicked him and threw him out of his kingdom. And then he comes to Lord Ram's camp. And what does he do? He surrenders. He says, I want to join your camp. And the scriptures tell us 95% of Lord Ram's army was not in favor of Vibhishan. Again, huge adversity. Now think about it. Vibhishan was a good man. It was very simple for him to simply stay in Lanka and wait for Lord Ram to come kill Ravana, and he would have automatically got the kingdom, isn't it? Easy? No. What was the choice he made? I don't want to be on the bad side. I would like to be on the good side, because in his heart, he was willing to submit himself for the cause of bringing Lord Ram and Mother Sita together. So it's an example of throwing yourself and committing yourself to Srila Prabhupada's mission, to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. So one example is you can sit here in the temple and wait for people to come, or the other is to go out and get Victor into the temple. If people don't go out, you wouldn't come in, isn't it? So Vibhishan came out of Lanka and came to Lord Ram's camp. And there's an interesting thing that happens. Lord Ram, because he knows everyone's heart, as soon as he comes, he tells Lakshman, please make arrangement for Vibhishan's coronation. And even before the war has started, Lord Ram coronates Vibhishan then and there. And the story is, Acharyas tell us, that Lord Ram was also a little bit anxious. Why? What was Lord Ram's concern? Anybody guesses? So, Lord Ram's concern was, everywhere he was going, his father was saying, go to the forest, but everybody's saying, no, 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 be king here. Then he goes to the village, meets the tribesmen, Guha and everyone, please stay and be the king here. So he said, the moment the war is over, they're going to ask me to become the king of Lanka. I'm going to make a king now. So that was his plan. That's a bit of funny side to it. So Vibhishan is an example of selflessness. How he gave up the comfort of the city of gold, knowing that that's temporary, knowing that it's going to finish, and knowing that the right thing to do is to be on Lord Ram's side. Serve the purpose to connect Lord Ram with Sita Devi. And there are many, many other characters. King Bharat. Bharat is, we get the name India or Bharatvarsh from King Bharat, who was Lord Ram's younger son. And all the austerities he did. He never really accepted the king's manship after Lord Ram left. The scriptures tell us when we read that he used to live as a representative of Lord Ram in a hut, very, very dilapidated hut. He used to wear very, very simple clothes, barks and leaves. He used to get up at 2 o'clock, very, very early hours, and go to the river Sarayu simply because he wanted to avoid the locals, because the understanding was that because of Bharat, Lord Ram's been exiled, etc. And he used to eat barley with cow's urine. That was his food. Acharyas tell us that Bharat actually performed more severe austerities than Lord Ram in serving the purpose of his master, who was Lord Ram, acting as his representative, and waiting eagerly for his master to come back and take his rightful position. Generally in material world, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Everybody is opportunist. Do you know that? The boss is gone, let's become next best, take the place. But scriptures is full of examples where we have so many lessons to take away and hopefully implement in our lives. So Ramayana is one such story. Rama Ayana means the homecoming. Ayana means to come back. Rama means Lord Ram. So Ramayana is the homecoming of Lord Ram. So when we discuss Ramayana, we should meditate on how we bring the Lord into our hearts. He's already there, but by practicing chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, by reading his pastimes, by coming together with devotees, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, we realize him more within us. So Ramayana, apart from simply reading these stories as story tales, we should make an effort as to how much closer we are to Krishna or Ram or whatever name you want to give him. How much more are we able to rely on him? How much more are we able to submit and surrender ourselves so that we are serving the purpose of personalities like Srila Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and thereby making our lives worth. So we will stop at that. It's 9:15. We will have 5-10 minutes for any comments, questions, criticism, feedback, anything. Yes, Shankar Prabhu, you have anything to say? Huh? I'm going to just bring up a verse. It's a very beautiful verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let's do CC Madhva, and we'll read it together. It'll be a nice one. Will that come up? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's a bit slow. Okay, so this is from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a life story of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we will read this translation first. It's beautiful here. So anybody who's not read so far, James Prabhu, you've not read so far. Please, can you read?
Yeah, sure. It is my Father, if only one once seriously surrenders unto me, saying, My dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and he will always remain safe from that time on.
So who's saying this? This verse? Huh? Krishna or Ram? Rama. So this verse is from Ramayana, Yuddha Kund, and was spoken by Lord RamaChandra. So Lord RamaChandra is saying, it is my vow. He is promising that if one only once seriously surrenders unto me, saying, My dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person. Before we read the Sanskrit, let's do this prayer together. So repeat after me. Oh my dear Lord RamaChandra, from this day I am yours. Please look after me and give me courage that I remain in your service and the service of your devotees forever. Hare Krishna. So we'll read the Sanskrit now, just so we know that it was not a made-up translation. Okay. Sakrad eva prapanno yas tavasmiti cha yachate abhayam sarvada tasmai dadami etad vritam mama. Okay, together. Sakradeva prapanno yas tavasmiti cha yachate abhayam sarvada tasmai Dadami etad vritam mama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you so very much for being here today and allowing me this opportunity. Any questions, comments at all before we close? Yes?
Where can I find all this?
Oh, it is vedabase.io, online, internet free. Yeah, Vedabase. Yeah, we can tell you. We can tell you.
There's an app called Database.
Yeah.
There is an app.
Database. It's got no dropping out because
Free resource.
So do you read, if you read Russian, they are there in Russian
No,
also.
I don't read Russian.
Don't worry. Yeah, it's all online free. But if you need the book, we have book also.
I have Bhagavad Gita in Lithuanian.
Yes.
I've got Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto in English.
Yes. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. We have it here in book form as well. But it's on the internet also.
What was the app called again? Database.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good enough, yeah. Anything else? Yes. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Especially during the time when the Lord was devoted to King Carlton. I wonder why, say, 250 years later, why was there a sharp decline?
Mm.
There seems like a massive decline in God consciousness.
Yes. So, yeah. So the understanding is that we are in Kali Yuga, where the bull of dharma has only one leg. Mm. So this age is synonymous with all the bad qualities that humans can display: greed, envy, lust, pride, anything you can think of. So we are in the lowest of ages anyway. So you can expect the worst to happen. Even in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, it was not like everything was perfect. It was only in the Bengal region and the India region where he was present personally that there was this bhakti movement happening. But in a lot of places simultaneously, it wasn't great. India as a country was invaded so many times and plundered and looted by various emperors from around the world. So there was that constant battle of people's religiosity and spiritual values, and there was a constant upheaval happening all the time, even when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present. It wasn't like if Mahaprabhu was present then everything was good. You have the stories of Chanakya and all the other miscreants around that time. So it was constant. So all this is synonymous with the age we're living in. But as followers of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we are aware and we have been told that from Mahaprabhu onwards there is a period of time where this Mahamantra will continue to grow in popularity, and Mahaprabhu himself predicted that his name will go all over the world, and you all are helping. This temple that's coming up in Mayapur, it's also a significant landmark. When the temple of Vedic Planetarium comes up, again there will be an upsurge in the bhakti movement. So there will be instances where there will be like a high, and then it'll go down like that. But we are in the age of Kali, so you can expect the worst to happen. The caution is for us to always protect ourselves, always stay in the association of devotees, always have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita with you. Don't ever leave your house without a bead bag. I always have a set of books and a bead bag. You don't know when you get 5-7 minutes. It's good enough to chant around. So you should always equip yourself with all the tools that are at your disposal. And that's what we can do. We cannot ever do anything to make everybody act intelligently. synonymous with this age. So all we have to do is be good ourselves and try and help our friends and family as much as possible. Start with yourself. As Michael Jackson said, I'm talking to the man in the mirror. Yes, yeah. Change begins with you. Anything else? Yes, Prabhu.
No, we have to drop out your place of the culture.
Yeah.
So next
It will go again. So it's a cycle. So STDK, Sata, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. And once the four yugas are done, it's called one Divya Yuga. 1,000 cycles of these four yugas is equal to 1 day of Lord Brahma, and like that is 1 night. And like that, Brahmaji lives for 100 years. And after that, everything is taken
Yeah.
away.
The current age of Brahma is 50 years and
Half.
1 day.
He's halfway through here.
Yeah, halfway through.
He just gave it away. I thought you were 20 or you can always see this hue and glow around you because of your devotee attire. Yeah, so that's the way to go. It's mentioned in the, I think, 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Full description.
Yeah, you see, according to Vedic calculation, the light the time is circular.
Yeah.
But in modern system, they just say linear.
Yes.
So there it is circular. These 4 yugas happen. Again 4 yugas happen.
Bring it down. Okay, we'll finish here. Thank you so much. Yes, Prashadam is ready. Shoot. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Okay.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam ki jai.
What's called audio, yeah? Bhaktivedanta library.
Have you?
Once you
Yes.